welcome to a new vlog. We are slowly preparing for Christmas and New Year. Instead of buying a real Christmas tree, I decided to paint one. Now I'm heading out to buy a Christmas cake for dinner. I was actually surprised to find one in the middle of the day on the 24th of December. This year we decided to go with bolo rainha instead of bolo rei. Something less sweet and more nutty, you know? For Christmas dinner we decided to cook a traditional Portuguese dish, octopus with baked potatoes. It is simple, comforting, and doesn't require too much effort. And honestly, that's exactly what we need this year. Christmas evening felt quiet and cozy. We enjoyed our food, shared some wine, talked about everything, and watched a Christmas movie on the iPad. December days in Porto were warm and sunny, and we decided to spend the day by the ocean. We went to a small cafe near the water for lunch. We stayed there for a while, and we wrote postcards to our families. After that, we went for a walk along the shore. The weather was calm and bright, and I felt incredibly grateful to be here, to have the chance to spend December in such a warm and gentle place. People around us were enjoying the day in their own ways, running, cycling, playing with their kids, and we were just there, quietly taking it all in. Later, I stopped by the post office to send the postcards. the 31st of December, and now it's time to talk about books a little bit. This year I set myself a goal to read 24 books. It means I need to read 2 books a month, 1 book per 2 weeks. And this was a perfect goal for me, not a lofty one. I can indulge myself in to read a longer book, or I can spend my time on my other hobbies. But overall, I felt that this year was a really great in terms of books. This year I've read 31 books. I'm very proud of myself. I thought it would be fun to share with you 10 books that I loved this year. Most of them I've read on my Kindle or I listened to them as an audiobook. I'll put covers somewhere on the screen so you will see how it looks like. So let's begin. I have a list of books in my phone. There is no any particular order, just 10 books, which I really loved this year. Small Things Like This by Claire Keegan. This is a short but mighty story about Bill Furlong. He is a hardworking man who decides to do the right thing even if the society decides not to see the evil. This is a Christmas story, very touching, and this is one of the books I'd like to reread in future. The Fellowship of the Ring by John Ronald Tolkien. I've listened to the audiobook which was narrated by Phil Dragash, or Dragash, I'm not sure. And personally, I really enjoyed this version of the story, this version of narration, because it was accompanied with music from films. And of course, I've watched all of these films many times. So it felt very immersive. And I can highly recommend this narrator and this book. I listened to it on Spotify. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. A summer camp in the woods and a girl's gone missing. A slow burn mystery story with multiple perspectives and time frames. I loved it so much. The Frozen River by Ariel Lowen. This is a historical fiction about a midwife who fights for women's rights and seeks justice in 18th century America. This is a moving and remarkable story based on the real life of Martha Ballard. She kept a diary, which was very unusual at that time, and this diary helped historians to understand more about people's life at that century. My Friends by Frederick Buckman. Oh my, this was my favorite book of the year. It's a story about a great friendship, love, grief, art, and much more. A very human and touching story which won't left you indifferent. And I adore Frederick Buckman's writing, you know. This is my favorite book by him so far, and my favorite book of the year, but I've already told you that. The next one is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Usually romance books are not my cup of tea. I prefer different genres like mystery or suspense or thrillers, but this book was great. It's a story about female astronauts who lived and worked in 1980s. I gulped down the book because of the hook in the beginning. I loved the writing and the story. I can say that I've read Seven Husbands of Emily Hugo by her a couple of years ago and it was okay, but this book was great. The Names by Florence Knapp, and this book, like, I remember it's like, wow, very unusual structure. Imagine that if the name that you give to a child can determine their life. So in this book there are 3 different names and 3 alternative lives of a child and a family. Amazing book. The next one is You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This is a collection of short stories which were published before in different magazines, and some of them were not published Of course, there are stories which I liked more than others, but overall I enjoyed almost all of them. I read a Kindle version, but in paperback they have one more story only for paperback edition. That's like brilliant because now I'm very curious and I want to go and buy a paperback, or maybe I'm not sure if libraries in Porto have them. Probably I need to find this book in paperback and to read the last story because I'm very curious. I become a die-hard fan of Stephen King, and I'm definitely going to read more of his books in 2026. So the next book is sad. It's called, the translation is like The Garden by Maria Stepnova. This is a contemporary Russian author, and I'm not sure that this book is translated in English. Let me check. Yeah, I've checked that this book hasn't been translated into English yet. So I read it in Russian. It's a family story, very slow paced. It was beautifully written. I really like to read books of contemporary Russian writers, so it was one of them. And the last one in this list, but not the least, is The Hallmarked Man by Robert Galbraith. This is the newest book about Cormoran Strike and Robin Ellicott's detective agency. This is a whodunit mixed with a touch of romance, and I love it. This is the 8th book of the series, and I'm not tired at all. These books are huge, usually they're very thick, but I'm not tired. I finished this book, I turned the last page, and I want more. I want to know the story, but Robert Galbraith, aka John Rowling, she published it this year in September, so I need to wait like at least 1 year, maybe 2, to know what's next. So yeah, I really enjoy this series of books. Frankly, not all the books are I didn't like all of the stories. There are some which are like okay, or it was a bit hard to read, but mostly I enjoy the story. So that's it for the books. Thank you for being with me this year. I wish you an amazing new year, and I hope that all of your dreams and plans come true. Have a wonderful time with your friends and family, and I really hope to see you in 2026. Bye bye.